This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Kevin Tucker and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic!
What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is October 6, 2025. Jonathan Osborne here, as always, joined by my co-host Kevin Tucker. Kevin, the Magic are undefeated. How we doing?
1-0, baby. You love to see it. Currently sitting, right where we expected, third in the league. So you just love to see that. Just kidding. Yeah, Magic 1-0 after a big win Saturday night against the Miami Heat. And look, I know it's preseason. I know it's the first game. But anytime you beat Miami, you got to feel a little bit happy about that. How are you feeling today?
You know, it's crazy. I never even knew that they kept preseason standings. And you said that. I was like, of course, Kevin has looked at the preseason standings. Well, yeah, they keep on preseason standings.
Just based on NBA.com. But yeah, there's two teams
even
that are 2-0.
Does.
Yeah, there's two teams that are 2-0. And then you have your Orlando Magic sitting at 1-0. Now they're tied with, six other teams for third place in the league at 1-0. But hey, third place is third place. You can't take that away from us.
We'll take it. No, I'm doing well. Yankees crapped the bed today. Giants crapped the bed today. So at least the Magic won. What was that? Saturday night, right? Saturday night that was. So I've got that going for me. And this is the time of year where it's like, okay, Yankees are flaming out in the postseason again. Giants season is over after the first, 3 or 4 games. And now I just direct all of my attention to the Magic. And this year it really should pay off because the team obviously is supposed to be a lot better. So we're going to break everything down, obviously, talk about this game in Puerto Rico where I think it was like the night before or the morning of this game, like the stadium was shot at. There were bullet holes in some of the windows there apparently, which is not great.
No.
But we'll circle back to some of the things that we talked about in the last episode, some things that we wanted to see. A lot of good from this game, from a couple of guys in particular, which we'll talk about. But a lot of incompletes, it feels like, with just the first preseason game. I think that's to be expected. And then we'll take a look to Friday's game, their next preseason game, in which they'll be in Philadelphia. So, Kev, I guess let's just start here. No Franz Wagner in this one. They kept him out. We had talked about this, and hey, I think the pennies theory, which they're called pennies, as plenty of people have let me know. For whatever reason, when I was playing middle school basketball and we had to, use pennies in practice, I've been calling it pennies my entire life and saying it wrong. But we had the great pennies debate on the last pod as to whether or not they mean anything. They clearly do. Yeah. We saw Tyus Jones playing with the starters. We also saw Tristan da Silva. Thought that was a little weird. And we were kind of theory crafting. Well, maybe Tristan is playing a little bit with the starting lineup. Maybe Franz isn't playing because of Eurobasket, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense because, Tristan did as well. But then you made the point that obviously Franz was carrying a lot more of the load. And we saw all of that play out. They kept Franz out because of, playing in Eurobasket. And we saw Tyus Jones with Jalen still being out. And we saw Tristan da Silva inserted into the starting lineup on Saturday.
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise. I talked about it a little bit on the post-game live on Saturday, which, by the way, shout out everybody who was able to join us for that. First one of the season, always good to get that going again. But yeah, we talked about it on the post-game live where I wasn't super surprised. Once it happened, you're like, it makes sense. But we had just never heard, at least I hadn't heard any kind of rumblings about that, about Franz being rested for any of preseason. And so that was a little bit of a surprise. But again, nothing concerning or anything like that. He's just had a long summer of basketball. But pretty cool to see Tristan in the starting lineup, especially this starting lineup, getting to play alongside of, Desmond Bane and Paolo and such. And so, but yeah, I thought Tristan did well filling in. A lot of Magic fans, I think both of us included, think this could be a big season for Tristan. And so good for him to get some important minutes with the big boys, I guess you could say, on Saturday. But yeah, I thought he looked pretty good.
Now, I know we're kind of jumping a little bit ahead here, but since they've changed the preseason schedule in recent years and kind of shortened the preseason, only 4 games this year, I'm fully expecting to see Franz on Friday.
Yeah. I think so too. Especially with the gap between the games. If this was a Saturday, Monday turnaround, maybe not. But since it's Saturday to Friday, 6 days between games, I definitely think we'll see Franz on Friday.
Trying to pull up the schedule for the week for the Magic. So they were off today on Sunday. Have training camp Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So they're not going to have any time off between now and Friday's game. So give those guys a chance to get even more, into the swing of things. We haven't talked since obviously there was training camp on Thursday and on Friday. Before we talk more about this game, what was your opinion of, I think it was Friday that before they left, Jamal mentioned that they're not so focused on like getting sets in for these guys. They're not trying to coach them on sets and running sets, but how to make correct decisions with the basketball, which the freelance kind of style of offense, not that the Magic don't run sets, but we've heard that kind of offensive philosophy in the past. And in bringing in Joe Prunty, was hoping to see that change a little bit. And they did run plenty of sets on Saturday night, but did that, it was a small red flag to me that we might see a lot of the same. And I think it's going to be difficult to really see how all that's going to work until we have everybody available and they're playing normal rotations. But just what were your thoughts on that?
I didn't think a whole lot about it. I saw a lot of Magic fans did. The reason is, we talked about it on the last show that I did not expect the offense Saturday to look much different than last year. After 4 days of camp, what all can you do really? Mm-hmm. But like we talked about, I expect a gradual progression throughout the entire preseason. And like we just talked about, with 6 days between games, it's basically they've got another training camp this week, a whole fresh week of training camp. It's actually more days of camp this week than the actual training camp, more days of practice, I should say. And so between that and last week and, there's one more week after that of preseason, I think that's where I'd like to hope at least that this team starts to kind of grow in the offensive repertoire, if you will, the different things that they can put together. And so I'm not too worried about it. I think it's a mix of coach speak and a mixture of, hey, we just had 4 days with these guys and we're just trying to get everybody back up to speed. And then I'd like to think that over the next couple of weeks, they'll start to, implement some of the stuff maybe that Prunty could bring.
So they play on Friday. I'm assuming after 4 days of training camp and then a game on Friday, they'll be off Saturday. And they play Sunday, and then they'll probably have training camp Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, play Thursday, and then have a day or so off, and then even a few more days of kind of training camp before the start of the regular season on the 22nd. So still plenty of time, to your point, to like get all that kind of stuff in. So let's jump in to the game Saturday night. So Magic versus the Heat in Puerto Rico. Interesting kind of hockey shift line changes that we saw in this one. The starters came in, played, I want to say about 6 minutes in that first quarter. Actually have it here. Yeah, 5.5 minutes. And then the second unit came in, played 6.5 minutes. So Tyus, Desmond, Tristan, Paolo, Wendell in that starting lineup. And then Anthony Black, Jase Richardson, Jet Howard, Goga Batadze, and Jonathan Isaac. Obviously, things will look different once we have Jalen, Franz, and Mo Wagner back. Kind of shaky first quarter out of the Magic. They were down 8 after 1. But really kind of what you expect. We actually saw the same type of line change, from the Heat. Basically, I think it was like a minute after the Magic starters came out. But just a lot of rust, especially from the Magic. Just some turnovers, some guys missing easy ones that we expect them to make. Magic trailed 61-50 at the half. Starters did not play at all for either team in the second half, and the Magic outscored the Heat 76-57 in the second half and won this one 126-118. We will talk about the individual performances, I think, especially of Jase Richardson and Wendell Carter Jr., but like big takeaways from the game, Kev.
Yeah, I mean, rust, I think, is the perfect word for early in the game. And again, that's not something to panic about. That's obviously very common when you haven't done something for 6 months together as a unit, and then all of a sudden you got to go out there and do it after 4 days. I think that's totally fair. The first stint of that second unit was just abysmal offensively. Like, it was very bad, and that did give me, I think, a little bit of PTSD to even just last season, where we'd have stretches, honestly, with lineups very similar to that one, where the offense was just non-existent. And that's exactly what it was. It was non-existent for that stretch. That was pretty tough, but give that same unit credit, because when they came in the second time, and I guess technically the third time, in the third quarter, they were able to really, really make some noise. Obviously, mostly behind Jase Richardson, who I know we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, that first quarter, at least, I was like, oh no, here we go again, as they say.
Yeah, not good. In those 6.5 minutes, they mustered up a whopping, what was that? 7 points. Anthony Black had 2. Jet Howard had 5. Were a couple of Jet Howard flashes in this game. Not going to go too deep into that. We've seen it all before. But had obviously the 3 that he was able to step into, and then had the big dunk. So those were pretty fun moments. Really quickly, just kind of let's talk about the starters, because we only got to see them in the first half of this one. I thought most everybody was like fine. Wendell Carter Jr. was awesome, and to your credit, you've been pounding the Wendell drum here for the last several weeks. In 13.5 minutes in the first half, he had 10 points, 5 rebounds, 2 blocks. Just looked awesome on both ends. Now, I will say, the start of last season, Wendell did look kind of springier, looked like he had got a lot of that athleticism back, and then just kind of like tailed off into kind of like what was an up and down year for Wendell. But he looked awesome. And small sample size, you're going to hear that a lot throughout the preseason and the beginning of the regular season here. But Wendell, to me, I mean, you could argue he was the best player on the floor for the Magic for the entire night. He only played the one half. I mean, Jase finishes with 13, which we'll talk about Jase. But in 13.5 minutes, 10 points, 5 rebounds, 2 blocks for Wendell, and altered, at least 2 or 3 other, attempts that I can remember. He was just flat out awesome.
He was. And again, both ends, like defensively, I thought it was just really, really good. I want to ask you, Jonathan, our first glimpse of Desmond Bane, 13 minutes for him, 3 of 7 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, hit both of his free throws, did have 6 boards as well, 3 assists, 1 turnover, total of 9 points. What was your first impression of Desmond Bane's first appearance in a Magic uniform?
I would say as advertised. I think he had a couple of drives where, if this is a week into the regular season, he's converting on those, and it probably looks like 4 or 5 out of 7 instead of 3 of 7. But his ability to move the ball, his ability to like attack quickly off the dribble, like teams closing out on him, and just like getting into the paint and getting good looks, and the space that he provided for Paolo. Like Paolo had a couple of drives where it was basically like one-on-one, which we literally do not ever see. And talking about Russ, like everybody had a little bit of that in this one. Paolo, no different from that. He 7 points, 2 of 7 from the floor, 0 of 2 from behind the arc, 3 of 3 at the line, 3 rebounds, an assist, and 3 blocks out of Paolo Banchero. Now, if you've been listening to our show the last few weeks, we just came off talking about the international cycle in Eurobasket. You've been listening to the show for a couple of years, and you've been listening to each summer when we talk about these, international competitions. Two summers ago, at the FIBA World Cup, Paolo playing for Team USA, there were games where he was the best defender on the floor for Team USA in games where we had the Defensive Player of the Year, Jaren Jackson Jr., playing in those same games. Like, we have seen Paolo in this kind of low man rim protecting role, like really flourish in other instances. And I don't know if this is like a sign of things to come. Like, Paolo just kind of playing the low man defensively and playing with verticality at the rim. But he was awesome. Like, not like getting a finger on it. Like, there was one block at the rim that was almost like Dwight Howard-esque, the level of elevation and like the force at which he rejected that shot. But no, to bring it back to Desmond, sorry, I just got like thinking about that with Paolo was just got me excited. But no, I thought Desmond like was as advertised, and people around the league who were watching this game were like, yeah, Desmond is going to be so perfect for this team. 1 for 3 from 3. At least he made one, right? Had a couple of good looks, but no, I'm just this game didn't do anything to like lower my level of excitement for the season.
Yeah, the 13 minutes just left me wanting more. Not that I wanted more from him, but like more time.
Yeah, when the second half started and I saw the lineups, I was like, here we go. This is what we were talking about.
This is what we're talking about in the last show, where it's like, yeah, the first, 12 to 18 minutes of the game are fun. And then after that, I mean, to be fair, this ended up being a pretty fun and very competitive game, even down the stretch. I enjoyed watching, even though, most of the guys that we saw down the stretch of this game are not going to be on the team this season. Obviously, these are guys that are fighting for their NBA lives, and so they're given 110%. Both teams were. So
one of the better preseason games that I can remember.
Yeah, especially early preseason games. Yeah, it was quite entertaining. But yeah, I liked what I saw from Desmond as well. I wish I could have seen more, but I guess that's what the rest of preseason is for. So yeah, that was cool. And then, I mean, Tyus, pretty quiet, debut for him. But at the same time, that's kind of the Tyus thing, I guess, right? Like, he's not going to go out there and mess the game up. That's the whole assist to turnover ratio king thing that we keep hearing. He's not going to go out there and go crazy, but solid. What do you end up with? Just 3 points. Yeah, it was a lone 3-pointer, but yeah, I just say solid from Tyus Jones. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah, he's very much going to be the fifth option, for however long he's in that starting lineup. But
yeah,
I want you to hit a quick little victory lap on Wendell. What did you think of Dell?
I mean, nothing to celebrate. Those of us that knew, we knew. So, I'm just kidding. It's way too early for that.
Yeah.
But he did look really good. I was super happy for him. And yeah, let's see if he can put it together for a whole season, and I'll be totally on board. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's back. It's the return of the Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week, your favorite segment in this show. It's been gone all summer, but because we have Magic Basketball and because there was at least one dunk in the game on Saturday, the Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week is officially back. And this week, I think maybe making his Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week debut, it's Jet Howard. That's right, Jet Howard. With the dunk on Saturday against the Miami Heat, he caught the pass in the corner, drove right, threw it down with the right hand with authority. Jet Howard making his Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week debut. Big shout out to Jet Howard. Again, good game on Saturday for him. And also want to shout out Jam Hot Chicken, because they're bringing jams, culture, and hot chicken to the heart of Winter Park and soon Winter Garden as well. You can follow them on all social media at Jam Hot Chicken or visit their website, jamhotchickenfl.com, to access the menu where you can get 10% off using our code SIXTHMAN. That's SIXTHMAN. Gets you 10% off your online order when you go to jamhotchickenfl.com. We love Jam Hot Chicken because they have the best chicken in Central Florida and because they're diehard Magic fans who love the Six Man Show community. So big shout out to Jam Hot Chicken for sponsoring the show. And when you go there, just let them know that the Six Man Show sent you.
This episode is also brought to you by AJ Burse, Sir Sundown, Magic Matt, Nick from the Cloud, and Dalek Lopez. Who are these folks, Kevin? These are some of our Hall of Fame and elite tier patrons. They went to patreon.com/the Six Man Show, where there for as little as $2 a month, you can help support the show. We can't do anything that we do here without the financial support of our patrons. So if you're a fan of the content, fan of the watch parties, the post-game lives, or just the fact that we're trying to grow this Orlando Magic fan community and fan base, you can head over to the Six Man or patreon.com/the Six Man Show and join whatever tier is best for you, and help us do what we do here. So anytime we have brand new patrons, we give them a special shout out. And then we give a special shout out to some of our Hall of Fame and elite tier patrons each and every episode. So once again, big thank you to our patrons. And now let's get back to the episode. Okay, now I've been dying to talk about this since last night. So like almost 22 and a half hours. Jase Richardson, and especially the third quarter, he had all of his 13 points in that third. 13 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, 5 of 7 from the floor, 3 of 3 from behind the arc. Small sample size. Let's just throw that disclaimer.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know how that kid could have had a better like NBA preseason debut. Just looked so good, so smooth, so under control, so good defensively. I mean, the size is always going to be a little bit of a problem for him. But just like the activity and like picking up 94 feet, as he talked about the other day in training camp, it's like his decision making. It was like everything that he did, especially offensively, was the right play every time. And seeing that guy knock down 3 threes in, a quarter of action was awesome. Now, he did have to leave the game. I think it was like early in the fourth, came up hobbled a little bit. It was like, did he roll an ankle? David Seal on the broadcast, which we can do a sidebar about the broadcast. We thought maybe they would be there, and then it was the studio, which was like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing here. But no, it was just the cramps from Jase. But I am excited, and if he keeps up that level of play, I don't know how you keep him off the floor.
Yeah.
Small sample size.
Yeah, small sample size. But he was very, very good. And keep him off the floor, I think for me means he's earned a spot, off the bench. I don't think you're suggesting when you say you can't keep him off the floor that he somehow finds his way in the starting lineup or anything like that. But
no.
But again, small sample size. But especially when you compare to another one of the ball handlers that played on Saturday, again, small sample size. There are questions that are being asked, about those rotations and who might be, playing and who might not, and all those things. And so we'll see. But especially, we'll see about Jalen. I know everyone's targeting opening night, but if Jalen's not ready, that obviously opens up the door even wider for Jase. But the door that was open for him on Saturday, he didn't walk through it. He ran through it. He was so good, really, really good on both ends, super active. I was super happy. And the number of high level passes he made, and it doesn't show in the box score. I think he only ended up with 2 assists. 2 assists on the night, but he had several high level passes, just smart. Some of them very difficult, like one-handed slingshot to the corner, that kind of stuff. And then obviously offensively, he was very good as well. So I came away super impressed with Jase. We didn't and it's true with most rookies, especially rookies that aren't, at the very, very, very top of the class. You just don't really know what to expect from them. And so to have him go out there and do that was really impressive. Small sample size, but very impressive to me.
I don't know how many times we're going to have to say small sample size, but yes, he was awesome. A couple of other guys off the bench, Jamal Cain, Reese Beekman. Jamal Cain had 10 points, 5 of 8 from the floor, had some big baskets down the stretch in this one to really put this game away. Same with Reese Beekman, 11 points in 7.5 minutes from him. Obviously Jamal Cain, two-way guy. Reese Beekman, just an Exhibit 10 guy. It doesn't sound like Jeff Weltman is looking to bring any of these guys in. Talked about the fact that the Magic just don't have the money right now to sign an additional guy. But I thought both of them were really good. Wouldn't surprise me at all, if Reese Beekman ends up on a 2-way for another team or finds a deal somewhere. But he was awesome. Orlando Robinson, I thought, was pretty solid. 4 points, 2 rebounds in this one. Quite a few personal fouls, but it's preseason. It's whatever. Just really solid. So Jamal and Orlando, the two-way guys. But this is a fun game. I know we'll talk about a couple of other guys from the roster, but What did you think of those guys, especially late?
Yeah, I mean, those guys are the reason that the Magic won this game. Like, again, that like third, fourth unit set of guys. I mean, the Magic just completely outplayed Miami's same equivalent group in that fourth quarter, which is kind of where they got the separation and got the win. Made a lot of good plays on both ends. But yeah, those two guys in particular, I mean, that block Jamal Cain had late in this game, I think it was like less than a minute left, probably. It was towards the end of the game, was just nasty. And then, yeah, Reese Beekman didn't miss from the field, so you obviously can't argue with that. But yeah, those two guys stood out to me quite well. And then another guy we haven't even talked about yet, Noah Penda. Obviously not one of those two-way guys, but Magic rookie this season. I thought, he was good. Defensively, you can see what some of the hype is about there. Watching him on the defensive end. Offensively, about what I personally expected. We haven't heard a whole lot about his offense, in camp, but yeah, the defense is really kind of what he's become known for. So, but yeah, I will say I think obviously there's still a pretty good ceiling for a guy like Noah Penda, but I didn't see anything from him Saturday that made me go, oh, he's got to get in the rotation right away. Yeah. But still, that's not a knock on him. I think he's going to be a good player, but again, just like Jase Richardson, you don't know what you're going to get going into a game with a rookie. And what for me with Noah Penda, what I saw was pretty much what I expected.
Yeah, the sequence that really popped for me is there was like that inbound where he like pretty much throws the ball away and then immediately steals the inbound pass, goes the other way. So it's like, hey, make a mistake, go make a play. And I think he got fouled on that, and he was 2-2 at the free throw line. So yeah, Jase just looked so much better than I could have expected in one game. Noah definitely seems like it's going to be more of a project. With the depth that we have at the forward position on this team, it's going to be harder for him to crack the rotation. But, small sample size. Jase has got me thinking crazy things. Like if he's not going to play to that level every night, but some people took offense to me like tweeting that he could be like a future 6 man of the year, and people are like, this guy's going to be a starter in the league. I believe he is 100% good enough, or going to be good enough at one point to be a starter in this league, but he's not going to be starting for this team anytime soon. So like, while he's not starting, he absolutely, I think, could be good enough to be like a 6 man of the year, candidate at some point. And if you look around the league, the guys that win 6 man of the year, they are like starter level players that just happen to come off the bench for their team. Like, Lou Williams, Jamal Crawford, like when we had Terrence Ross here, obviously like starter level kind of players that just happen to come off the bench. So it's no knock whatsoever to Jase. I think he's awesome. And I really do think he's like going to be a starter level player in the league at some point. But yeah, Jamal Mosley is going to have some tough decisions to make if Jase continues to play this well in the preseason. I did, again, small sample size alert, did want to talk a little bit about Anthony Black, because if there was anyone on the roster who was pretty like underwhelming in this one, for me, it would be Anthony Black. In 21 minutes, he had 5 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 3 turnovers, 4 personal fouls, was 1 of 7 from the floor, 1 of 3 from behind the arc, and 2 of 4 at the free throw line. Just like, obviously we haven't seen Anthony Black since May, didn't play in Summer League. And it's one game. It's a weird neutral site kind of thing. Weird lineups. It's the very first preseason game.
Bad
a
lighting.
Lot of stuff that they're trying to figure out. But he just did not pop off the screen at all. Like, there was not a moment where you were like, whoa, Anthony Black. On the contrary, there were a couple of moments you're like, whoa, Anthony Black. Like, they're in transition and he gets the ball in like the middle of the floor and like has the opportunity to take like a dribble and get to the rim and just like kind of turn and threw the ball up at the rim. There wasn't like a low shot clock or, low time on the clock to end the quarter. It's just kind of like a weird sequence. But yeah, I did leave the game going like, oh man, that's kind of a bummer that he didn't have like really any flashes of of looking awesome or like doing things that we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
But again, it's one game. The lineups are completely off. These guys don't have any chance to get into any type of rhythm right now. What did you think about AB?
Yeah, I think what really kind of put him in a put him on the wrong course, I guess, if you will, was that same stretch we talked about earlier where the bench guys came in for the first time in that first quarter. He was kind of the captain of that ship, if you will, at least when it comes to like initiating the offense and stuff. And it was so abysmal. It was so bad. And I think a lot of people kind of put that on him, and potentially rightfully so, because again, if you're initiating the offense and you're now a third-year player and coming up against, at least in the back half of that stretch, coming up against backups for Miami, you like to see him be able to take advantage more of that. Not necessarily meaning he's going to score, but he's at least able to get to his spots on the floor and potentially create for other guys. And we just really, really didn't see that in that stretch. How much of that is his fault? How much of that is look at the guys around him? Jase Richardson, those were his first preseason NBA minutes. Jet Howard is Jet Howard. Goga and Jonathan Isaac don't really offer hardly anything offensively. So it's not like he was surrounded by a bunch of, offensive superstars, but I think the opportunity was still there for AB and he wasn't able to capitalize on it. And I think that may have just kind of put him on the wrong foot to start the game and he wasn't ever able to recover. But again, small sample size, not going to sit here and go crazy over it. But in a second, when we talk about what to expect on Friday, that's the top of my list. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But I want to see Anthony Black bounce back in a big way. But I agree. I mean, if you look across this roster, top to bottom, whether you're talking starters or Exhibit 10 guys, he was the only guy that I walked away going, man, I wish I could have seen a little bit more, even just something from AB. So I'm right there with you on that.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about Tristan. He was really good. 12 points, 5 of 9 from the floor, 2 of 6 from behind the arc. Him knocking down threes is going to be really big. But the other two guys, Goga Batadze, 16 minutes, 6 points, 1 of 2 from behind the arc. The one that went down looked really good.
Great.
Looked really good. He looked confident, and then he turned in and was chirping at the Miami bench a little bit, which was pretty fun. So we'll just kind of have to continue to pay attention to that. If he's confident and the stroke looks like that, I'm fine with him taking, 1 or 2 of those a game. And then J.I., this was, something both of us were really looking forward to seeing. He did get some run in the second half, with that like 3rd/4th unit, which I'm not really mad about. He ends up with 14 minutes. I do want to see him just play more minutes. He just got to play more minutes. But had 4 points. 4 points for him. 4 of 6 at the free throw line. So got to the free throw line a decent amount, had 4 rebounds, was 0 of 4 from the floor, 0 of 2 from behind the arc. Just didn't really pop at all. I really don't remember a single JI moment from this game, which is not good. That's not what we want. Yeah. Again, small sample size, just one game. I am really hoping that we see some flashes like defensively. Not that he was bad on that end by any means, but just how excited he's been, how bouncy he's been. I was hoping that we would just kind of see him come out like playing with his hair on fire, and we didn't get that. So I'm going to be watching that a lot more closely on Friday. There was so much that we were looking for in this game. I did find myself like, oh yeah, J.I.'s on the floor. Like I really need to hone in on him. Was kind of paying attention to other guys, but the fact that he didn't like make you notice him, I don't want to say it's a bad thing, but the opposite of what I think we were hoping for.
Yeah, and again, especially in that second half where he was coming up against not the best of the best from Miami, you'd like to have him, put his stamp on the game a little bit more defensively, and he wasn't able to do that. But again, I'm not reading too much into it. Especially because, like we talked about, I think Friday we'll hopefully get Franz back, and that'll make us almost whole again, as we wait for Jalen and Mo to come back. But I think Franz is a big piece, not just obviously for the starters, but it impacts the second unit as well. I mean, you think about that second unit, and how difficult it was offensively. You put Tristan in that unit instead of who knows who you're going to swap out. But you put Tristan in that unit, the offense goes up a level. Eventually, you put Tyus potentially in that unit. Offense goes up a level. And so I think it'll kind of open.
Does it compare to Jase? I don't know.
We'll have to wait and see. Small sample size. But yeah, I mean, those things, again, it's not just about making the starters whole again and complete, but it also has that trickle down effect to the rest of the team. And so I'm looking forward to maybe getting Franz back on Friday.
This game was a pleasant surprise, especially that second half. It was watchable. It didn't feel like, oh, we're watching a summer league game, which a lot of times is what these games feel like at this point in the preseason.
Yeah.
So yeah, I saw that second unit come in to start the third. I was like, oh, here we freaking go. But it was a lot of fun. It was a fun game, and especially those kind of unexpected guys like the third, fourth line to come in and really put an impact on the game. Yeah. Kev, I think on Friday, I'm probably still expecting to see like those like hockey line changes, right? I don't know how much of the actual rotation we're going to start to see. Maybe could be wrong. I would expect that we would start to see that in the Miami game on Sunday and kind of have like two kind of like dress rehearsals before the regular season starts. But let's talk about Friday's game and kind of what we expect to see there and some of the things that we're going to continue to focus on for that one. What do you think?
I think it's a little bit of continuation from Saturday. Like I said earlier, the number one thing on my list is Anthony Black. I want to see him play well. And again, that doesn't mean he needs to go out there and drop 20 and whatever. Like, he just needs to play within whatever is given to him offensively, and then play well on defense, which that's not going to be a surprise. But I want to see him have a solid game. All eyes are going to be on Jase Richardson, if you ask me. You go out there and play like that on Saturday, people are going to see if you can follow it up with another good performance on Friday. So I think that's worth seeing. Like we just mentioned, Franz, I hope we see him. If we do, I want to see him knock down a 3 or 2 at good percentages. And then, I think for me, the next thing is Desmond Bane. I want to see Desmond Bane after, 5 more days of practice and potentially adding Franz to that starting lineup. I want to see how Desmond Bane helps unlock things for himself, for Franz, for Paolo. And so, those are a few of the things that I'm most interested in going into Friday. I'm also looking forward to seeing the Magic play in an NBA arena where the lighting is good and hopefully the cameras are good. And I don't mean that to bash on the location and stuff on Saturday, but it just wasn't the best experience.
We can bash on the location. You want to know why? Because there were 2 separate instances of this in this game where we were getting "Let's go Heat" chants, and I really did not appreciate that.
I mean, it's technically a Miami home game, so
I don't care about that at all. In the Heat culture thing, I saw the floor and I almost pulled a muscle. I rolled my eyes so hard. The Heat culture thing, it's just so stupid. Like, it's one of those things to say it in house and hey, this is Heat culture, blah, blah, blah. But to push it out there and to make it a thing is just the most pretentious, dumb thing in the world to me.
Well, if Heat culture actually meant anything, maybe, but it doesn't mean anything anymore, right? They don't even win, right? If they win, they just barely win. They're just 500 or close to it. That's nothing to brag about your culture if you're walking around going 41-41, and putting it on your floor. That is ridiculous. Especially this season, because I don't think they're going to be that good at all. But those are some of the things I'm kind of looking forward to on Friday.
Have we heard whether or not that this game, it's on NBA TV, allegedly? I know there was some weird league pass stuff where things weren't being shown on Saturday, but this game's supposed to be on NBA TV. Have we heard whether or not it's going to be on FanDuel Sports Florida?
It is not. This is the only preseason game that's not. So it was just the Saturday game and then the 2 home games. So Sunday the 12th, Thursday the 16th against Miami and New Orleans, respectively. Those will be on FanDuel Sports Florida.
And this might be the first ever preseason game where every game is televised.
The first preseason, at least in a very, very long time. But yeah. And I mean, televised is one word to put it, because last year
I didn't say broadcast.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Last year, the opening one against New Orleans, remember, it was 11 a.m. or 1 p.m. or something. It was a midday game in New Orleans. It was the weirdest thing ever. But yeah, we got the Jumbotron feed for that. But it was broadcast.
They figured they'd get the same amount of people to show up for the game, whether it's 11 or 7.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, they just open it up for free and let all the kids come for the field trip. It's true. It's sad but true. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, you're right. I mean, it's pretty cool to have all 4 games broadcast. Again, hasn't happened in a very long time, if ever. Did you have anything else for Friday? Because I have a couple of stats that I wanted to just throw at you here in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to see the starters shake the rust off a little bit, right? Like we can't ever rule out some of these guys getting off to a slow start in the regular season because it just happens and we've seen that before. But just to look a little bit more sharp, a little bit more polished, right? Like Paolo, Desmond, want to see those guys, maybe have a little bit, more like efficient scoring outputs. Like maybe, Desmond goes 2 of 3 or 2 for 4, from deep and is able to convert on a couple more of those attempts at the rim. Paolo, instead of, 2 for 7, maybe we get like a 4 or 5 of 8 from the floor. I expect to see a lot more of the same from Tristan. Really want to see Wendell, continue the same like level of effort and just his ability to affect the game in different ways. I'm fine with, Tyus just kind of being like that 5th option. If we think back to like the, 2018 to 2020 teams where like DJ Augustine was kind of just like a safety valve, knock down open threes, facilitate when he needs to. If Tyus can kind of fill that same role, completely fine with that. Gonna have my eyes on some of the younger guys like Jase Richardson, Jet Howard, see if he can have another good game. Noah obviously, but then just want to see Anthony Black just have like a night and day type of performance. Like if he has kind of like a ho hum, like he was better but just kind of all right, I'll probably be fine with that, but would just like love for him to have like a 4 of 5, 10 point, 4 assist, couple of steals, maybe a block, like a performance that really just like jumps off of the screen at you, like a not low minute, but like, relatively, modest minutes, but just like really, really efficient and really impactful from him. And then I want to see some defensive highlights from JI to the point where it's like, okay, we can kind of see the outline of this guy being the player that he was a couple of years ago. But yeah, those are, I think we're going to start to see less and less of, the Jamal Cain, Orlando Robinson, Reese Beekman, like those kind of guys, obviously, as the preseason goes on. I think we'll probably see those guys in a pretty similar amount of minutes in this next one. And then the last 2 really see those minutes drop off. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for with this next one.
Here's some stats I want to run by you, Jonathan. Just pointing out, this team is it's a totally new team. The Orlando Magic are 2nd in the league in scoring right now, 126 points per game. The Orlando Magic are 1st in the league in rebounding, 58 boards per game. You love to see that. The Orlando Magic, middle of the pack, assists per game, just 11th in the league. Let's see, turnovers, middle of the pack, 13th in the league. But blocks, the Orlando Magic are 1st in the league, 9 blocks per game. So, look, I mean, you just can't argue with the stats. I know, I'm just kidding. But what I will say, going into Friday's game, which I know it means nothing. Wins, losses don't mean anything. However, Philadelphia legitimately has been the worst team so far in preseason. Like, and I know I was joking earlier. I'm being serious about this now. They are one of the few teams that has played 2 games because they did that little Abu Dhabi series against New York. So they've played 2 games. Now, again, it was overseas, but the lineups they're rolling out there are just wild. I mean, yeah, you have Tyrese Maxey, but outside of that, I mean, I didn't realize how depleted the Sixers roster is going into this season. Like it's a mess. It's really, really ugly, especially the guys that they're playing right now. And so I say all that to say there needs to be some feasting on Friday. That's what needs to happen.
If you're watching on YouTube, I just looked at the lineups and
it's terrible.
It's definitely something.
It's very, very bad. Which again, I just hadn't, I guess I just lost track of some of the guys they've kept or lost, and this is what you end up with. And I understand there's some guys that aren't playing, which I get that, obviously. But the guys that are there and that are available, it's abysmal. And so I say all that to say the Magic need to absolutely feast on Friday. And again, not for 48 minutes, but the starters, you just got to go for the jugular. I want to see us blitz them and be up 15, in the first quarter or something like that.
So they've already had, like you said, they've already had 2 games. But the game versus us on Friday is going to be their second to last. They play us on Friday and they play Minnesota a week later on Friday again. So like Lowry, Embiid, Paul George, all those guys have been day to day. Embiid and Paul George. I mean,
no, they're not playing.
Well, like my thing is like, hey, if they're not playing now, I don't really know. Are those guys like ready for the start of the season? Like it doesn't sound like Joel Embiid is going to be. Maybe Paul George, Kyle Lowry, probably. Quentin Grimes, they've kind of been like keeping out because the contract stuff that's been going on. But he signed on Wednesday. So, only 2 preseason games left. I would expect that we would start to see Quentin Grimes. And then Jared McCain, the thumb surgery, he's going to be out, even into, the first, couple weeks, if not couple months of the regular season. So
right.
I think there's an opportunity that, we see a little bit more competitive of a lineup from them. But yeah, like it would be great for the starters to just come out and look a lot better. But I'm expecting that kind of level of detail or attention to detail and intensity like Sunday versus Miami. Like that's when it's time to flip the freaking switch. Like if you're still kind of going through the motions Friday, like that's whatever. I know that you're not trying to go all out, in the 3rd game of preseason when you still have almost 2 weeks before the start of the regular season. But come that Miami game and that New Orleans game, like that's when we typically start to see the lineups and the rotations and like the style of play and the minutes get closer to what we should see in the regular season.
Yeah. I hear you and I agree with you. I still just want to go for blood on Friday. Like blood's in the water. This team looks terrible. So just go out there and put on a show and put this game away by halftime. And then, yeah, again, I say all that knowing it's not a game that means anything, but there is the optics, right? Like there's the eye test. This team, again, should go out there and make a statement. And I think they will. But yeah, we'll see what happens on Friday.
Yeah, I'm trying to go through Hoops Hype here. Yeah, it doesn't sound like Embiid is going to be ready. So
no.
Yeah, Paul George. There is signs that Embiid and Paul George are going to come back. This was as of 4 days ago.
Yeah.
So
yawn.
We probably doesn't sound like we're going to see those guys.
Yeah. Even if we do, I'm not scared. By the way, just saying.
No, not worried about it whatsoever. Yeah, I think that's really about it, Kev. I think that puts a button on Saturday's game and a good idea of kind of what to look for going into Friday's game as well. And looking forward to hearing some more stuff out of training camp. If you don't follow us on social media, I've been going through and watching all of the post practice availabilities from each day after training camp and trying to do like a 1 to 2 minute kind of recap on our social media pages. So be sure to follow us if you're not already. And yeah, let's keep this going. Let's go undefeated in the preseason, and then let's go like, let's see. So if it's 83 games in the regular season plus 16 games in the playoffs, so that would be like what, 103-0 if we go undefeated in the preseason, regular season, yeah. NBA Cup, and postseason. Yeah. 103-0 sounds pretty good. So why don't we just do that?
It's still possible. So as long as it's possible, it's possible. So you can stick that quote on a magnet or something. As long as it's possible, it's possible.
All right. I think we should go ahead and wrap this one up. I think that's going to do it for this episode. For Kevin Tucker, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to The Sixth Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening to The Sixth Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sixth Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!